Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina with another Sunday night live stream fishing show. Hopefully, you're ready for another great Sunday night show. Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here with another Sunday night live stream fishing show. That's right, our live stream fishing show is starting shortly. We're going to start around 8:30 p.m. every Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. tonight, August 11th. We are going to start shortly. If you're not watching this live, you can go ahead and skip forward to where you see the video start. If you are watching this live, stay tuned. We've got a great show for you. Again, this is our Sunday night live stream fishing show that we do every Sunday night here on our Hubbard's Marina Facebook and Hubbard's Marina YouTube pages. I appreciate everybody tuning in and checking it out. If you're watching live, you got a chance to win tons of free fishing trips. We're going to talk all about what we've been catching, what's going on. We're going to give away fishing tips and tricks. If you're not watching live, you still get tons of fishing tips and tricks. You can hear the question and answers that we do. And you're still going to get a lot of cool info, but you don't have that chance to win if you're not watching live. So hopefully you can tune in next time to watch live. Tonight it is just me, Captain Dylan Hubbard, here on the show. Sometimes we have the guests. Tonight couldn't talk anybody into doing it, unfortunately. We've had a long red snapper season, and all the guys are taking the night off. Well-deserved break. Finally some reprieve. So we are flying solo tonight. So you guys are stuck with me. And still going to be a great time. Still got lots of cool stuff to talk about and share. And with just me, I'm able to focus a little bit more on your questions. Last couple weeks, we've had guests in the studio. And when we have guests, a lot of times it makes it a little bit more difficult for me to stick up with your questions and stay up to date. So tonight, I promise to do a better job trying to keep up with you guys and make sure that I'm answering your questions. So hopefully you guys are excited for a great show tonight. Hopefully you've got your drinks ready and you're ready to talk fishing. Hopefully you have some questions for me, and sit back, relax. We're about to get started, guys. Don't forget, make sure to share the video. If you're watching on Facebook, share the video to your timeline, share it to your favorite fishing group. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like the video, subscribe to us on YouTube, and we're going to get started here very shortly. We'll get rolling in another 3 minutes or so once we get up to 8:30 p.m. is when we'll get started. If you are watching live, guys, make sure to comment where you're watching from. Make sure to share the video, like I said. In order to win those free trips, guys, you do have to comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page at least one time. If you're watching on another Facebook page or in a Facebook group, you do have to comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook video in order to be eligible to win those free fishing trips that we're going to give away later in the show. Plus, we're going to talk about some deals that we're offering right now. We got some deals going on that you don't want to miss out on, so make sure you're paying attention to that. We have our fishing newsletter that goes out every Friday, and this past Friday's newsletter did have some deals that we want to talk about. And you want to stay tuned to that newsletter because every Friday that fishing report comes out, talks about what's coming up and what's going on, and it has a coupon at the bottom of it. And a lot of people don't realize that coupon, especially in our slower time of year, which we're just getting into now, will often have deals. Like this past week, we had a deal in there that you don't want to miss out on. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well and answer some questions. We got a lot of cool photos from this past week. We're gonna be talking about some of the fish that we've been catching and what we have coming up. Looking forward to. and of course answering your questions as always. So make sure you sit back, relax, grab a drink, and get ready for tonight's show. Again, while we're getting set up here, don't forget to share the video. If you're watching on Facebook, share it to your timeline, share it to your favorite fishing group, share it with your friends, call your friends, tell them to tune in. They don't want to miss tonight's show. You can win free 5-hour half day for 2, a 10-hour all day for 2. You could win a half price 39-hour or a free 39-hour if we get up to 300 live viewers. So definitely stay tuned. You have to be watching live in order to win. If you're not watching live, you do not have that opportunity to win. So again, in order to be eligible to win, you have to go to the Hubbard's Marina Facebook video and comment at least one time. And then once you comment, you have to keep watching, because if we call your name, you got to message our page or email me to get those free trips. So hopefully everybody's ready. I know I'm ready. I'm ready to talk fishing and answer your questions. So let's get right into this thing. Happy Sunday night, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate y'all spending your Sunday night with us here at Hubbard's Marina and talking fishing. So tonight we've got a cool show lined up for you. We got some nice videos to show you and also some photos to go over. So we're going to start right off with talking about what we've been catching. Now, our 39-hour trips have slowed down a little bit. We're not running 3 39-hour trips each week like we were during red snapper season, but we're still running those 39-hour trips, and we're still catching some pretty nice fish. We had our 39-hour trip come in this morning. They had some really nice quality fish on there. It was a little slow, definitely not one of our better trips, but they had some really nice big mangroves. They had a monster amberjack we're going to show you and a couple others. They had a lot of Almaco jacks, some nice pink porgies, vermilions, some other species as well. So we're going to look through some of these 39-hour catches that they brought home this morning. Here's one of those big mangroves from the 39-hour trip. A fat red grouper there. Gotta love those red grouper. We've been seeing a lot of these red grouper at night. Our 12-hour night mangrove snapper trip came home with some nice red grouper that were obviously all caught at night during that 12-hour night snapper. And our 39-hour, as you can see here, caught some nice red grouper at night too. Pretty cool to see those red grouper biting pretty well for us through the nighttime period. Nice big old blackfin tuna here. Beautiful fish for sure. That is a fat blackfin tuna. These blackfin tuna are so good to eat. You can catch them a bunch of different ways, whether that's knocker rig fishing, flatline fishing, trolling, or casting lures to them when you see them swimming by. Lots of different ways to target these blackfin tuna. They are definitely, I feel, the most prolific in the cooler months, but we get them all summer long too. And at a recent FWC meeting, when they were talking about blackfin tuna, the FWC said statewide the greatest number of landings on blackfin tuna are June, July, and into August, where according to our information and our experience, we catch the most blackfin tuna in the cooler months, November, December, January, February, and into March. But we have been seeing quite a few of them this summer, so pretty cool. These blackfin tuna are really big, really good eating, and it's a great bonus when you're out there bottom fishing to come across some of these great eating blackfin tuna. So let's see here. We got a nice big amberjack. Now this big amberjack is almost 97 pounds. So monster amberjack, and it was caught in a really unique way. We're going to show you guys the video of him landing this fish. Normally we go all the way through the photos, but I want to show you guys this big fish catch. Pretty cool. So nice long fight on this huge AJ. Again, it was 96.4
All right, do not knock my camera in the wall.
He hooked it.
I got a camera pointed right
You can't
at
really
it.
see where he hooked it. He's right up there on the port bow, just behind the pulpit. So almost in the very tip of the port side or left side of the boat. And that's where he hooked it. You can see his lines going way far away from the boat. So when he hooked it, it ran out away from the boat. But you're going to see what that fish does here. It's pretty interesting. I'll let you guys enjoy the video.
Hey? You got that line there?
Come on down, start rolling down. Come on. Reel as you come. Yeah, it's not a Goliath swimming around this much. Keep going, real and long, grab that.
Now this is called working together. Everybody's moving out of the way. Great part about these trips this time of year, we don't have a lot of people on the boat. So with fewer lines in the water, it makes it real easy for everybody to work together, get out of the way, either going over or under that line to make sure they're trying not to get tangled up. Everybody's trying to get out of the way. Now this is a rental rod and reel, so this is not anything specific. This is a rental rod and reel, first time guest on our trip. Now here I would be doing something a little different. He's got the rod butt between his legs or maybe in his hip. And I like keeping that rod butt under my arm for this reason. See how that line's getting dangerously close to the underside of the boat? If it was under his arm, he could point that rod tip at the fish and get that rod tip down closer to the water and keep that line away from the underside of the boat. Because if that fish dug hard underneath the boat, it would be really easy for that fish to break you off on the edge of the boat. So you never ever want that line to touch the side of the boat. So that's why I like keeping it up under my arm for that reason. Right there, that line touched the side of the boat. That is dangerous. That's why it's nice to keep it underneath your arm so you can point that rod tip and control that fish a little bit better. Definitely a huge fish. Look at the color on that fish, man. Monster amberjack.
Guys, don't pull!
Alright, I got him. Okay! Give me the other gap! Give me the other gap!
Look at the size of that head.
Donkey! We got one! Holy shit, son! God damn!
There we go. Nice.
Monster fish.
How you feel, bud?
I feel awesome. Good job, man.
He's strangling Jason.
Yes, sir.
Good job, man. Good job.
Yes, sir. Got him on.
That's awesome, man. That is a great fish. Monster catch. Definitely a beautiful fish. Now, we weren't quite sure of the weight when we landed it, and even this morning when I saw it, it didn't look like that big of an amberjack. Like I was guessing solid 80, 85 pounds, but it weighed in at 96. It had some serious girth to it. So monster fish. You can see him struggling there to hold it up. Beautiful amberjack. And what's unique about it is they caught it using bonita, dead bonita. That's filleted bonita strips. So not targeting amberjack, was targeting some gag grouper or mangrove snapper on the bottom. It was actually a pretty small piece of bonita from my understanding. So really cool to see such a big fish eat a smaller piece of bait, and at that, a dead bait too. Normally, we don't catch a lot of jacks on dead bait. So it was a really, really cool fish. Really awesome trophy catch. I mean, a 96-pound amberjack. That's almost as big as they get. Our boat record's just over 110 pounds at 112. So that is a big amberjack, getting really close to that 100-pound mark. So beautiful fish, to say the least. And we also got some nice gags on this 39-hour. Not a ton of gags, not a ton of red grouper, not a ton of scamp, not a ton of amberjack. But we got some big mangroves, and we got some other good quality fish. There's one of those big mangroves. The big mangrove was close to 10 pounds. So some big mangrove snapper. You can see some nice big old scamp there held up by John Martin. Those are some big scamp. Some nice mangroves. You can see in the box there some big porgies as well. Pink porgies, knob porgies, mangroves, another big mangrove. The mangrove bite was pretty good. It wasn't really crazy off the charts either, but we got some nice mangroves. And then, of course, one of those big old porgies, which are great eating as well. He's got his gag grouper and his Bud Light in the other hand. Always got to have one of those after catching a big old gag. Handfuls of mangrove snapper, big old fat red grouper, another red grouper at night. Really cool to see those red grouper biting well at night. Pretty unique as well. Big old mangrove there at sunset. Nice scamp. There's a mutton snapper from that 39-hour trip. I'm catching a handful of muttons here and there. So there's the jackpot winners. He didn't want to hold his amberjack. It's sitting there on the ground behind him. Understandably so. 96-pound amberjack. That's pretty difficult to hold up for a photo. Besides offshore, nearshore, we've been seeing some good fish too. The nearshore action starting to pick back up for us. We're seeing a handful of these red grouper nearshore on our 10-hour trips. Not catching a ton of them on the 10-hour, catching a few here and there. But what we are starting to see, which is really cool, is those hogfish. Those hogfish are starting to pick back up, which is really cool to see that hogfish bite starting a little earlier for us. Typically, the hogfish bite is better in the cooler months. So once we get into October, November, December, January, February, March, April, that's when we see a lot of those hogfish. And the hogfish bite gets a lot more prolific, more aggressive, and more consistent. But they're definitely starting here. Through the summer, we've been catching them, one here, one there, two there, and then a couple trips without any at all. But now they're starting to get a little bit more consistent for us. Nothing to write home about it yet, but we're just excited to start seeing the bite start happening again. So cool news on that. And we're excited because that nearshore fishing gets to be a lot of fun as we get into the end of September, early October, because it starts cooling off for us. Not as hot. The boat has almost nobody on it, and the mackerel are coming back already. We're starting to see the mackerel pick back up, and the kingfish will be showing up there sometime early October, late September, and then also that hogfish bite will be picking up as well. So we're looking forward to the coming weeks for lots of good 10-hour action. Besides offshore, nearshore, inshore, we've been seeing some nice fish. I was fishing this week with my cousins, Luke and Nick. Luke came into town from Jacksonville, and this guy is Luke, my other cousin, who lives locally here. They're both getting into fishing, and they both wanted to go snook fishing this week. And we caught a lot of snook this week right there at the dock and around Johns Pass all night long through the summer. We see a lot of snook action. And we were catching the snook that from our dock and underneath our dock from the beach using live shrimp. A lot of live shrimp flushing out of the pass on that outgoing tide. And all we were doing is taking a live shrimp, tail hooking it, tossing it up under the dock and letting that current take it through the dock. And those snook were just plowing them. And we were cheating a little bit. We were throwing a little handful of shrimp out there and then casting our baited shrimp in the middle of that handful. And that chum was definitely helped getting those snook excited. 60-pound test, about a 3/0 circle. And you can stand on the beach right behind the Marina at the tail end of that outgoing tide and cast or skip your live shrimp right up underneath the dock right before sunrise. Great time to do it. And those snook have been really thick. You can catch them from the jetty up underneath the bridge. There's a lot of different ways, or a lot of different areas inside Johns Pass holding snook. So definitely a great time to go fish for those snook inside the pass. And on the beaches during the day, we're seeing a lot of snook as well. So right now, inshore fishing is great for those snook. So it's a great time to get out there and go do it for sure. Now, we've got some other videos here from our 39 hour. I want to show you this big old kingfish. This was another rental rod, top quality fish. He caught this kingfish dropping down a live bait to bottom. So I'll show you this real quick. Nice fish. There it is.
In the rain.
In the rain. Hurricane approaching. Oh. There he is. Whoa. Is that a kingfish? Got overhead. Got overhead. Big finger in amber. No, it's amber. Yeah, it's solid. It's on straight. About a good.
That's a big kingfish.
Oh, yeah.
Don't let him hit the side of the boat. Watch what you...
Nice king, man. Some beautiful kingfish, actually. And those kingfish will just get better and better through the fall time. Those kingfish just get thicker and thicker in our area. Here's another big amberjack caught on the bow of the boat by John Martin. We'll show you this video real quick, and then we'll get into your questions, guys.
So now we're in day 3 of the fight. Day 3 of the fight, take over.
Now, John's using a cool technique here. Definitely makes it easy. On the bow of the boat, moves up and down a little bit more.
Right in front of the boat right now.
So he's actually using the wave action. He's got his foam of his rod just right in front of the reel. As long as you're close to the reel seat, you can put the foam
I heard that.
on the rail and rest it there. And he's actually using the wave action. So the boat's going up on a wave, it stops reeling. The boat goes down on a wave, and he breaks up and slap. So he's actually just holding
color.
the rod on the
color
rail
down there.
and letting the waves fight the fish. And the rod bait fight the fish. So a pretty cool little method he's using to successfully fight those amberjack. When you catch a couple big fish in a row and get tired out, that is a great method to use for sure. Makes your life easier.
Ooh, this grate is slippery.
Work smart, not hard,
Be
right?
careful. Just take. He's up here now. Just take
Don't
your
pull,
time.
there's a line on him, don't pull.
Not quite as big as that other one,
Yeah, probably not as young as it once was. Yeah.
but still a nice fish. Got another amberjack there laying on the deck. Another big amberjack into the boat. So great fish, and definitely been seeing a few nice big amberjack like that. So it's a great time to get out there and go hunt those jacks. We haven't been seeing a ton of amberjack. It's definitely a little difficult to find a big mass of amberjack. A little early in the year, water's still pretty hot, but we're finding a few of them, and obviously the ones we're finding are pretty darn good size. So looking forward to some more amberjack fishing here in the month of August, September, and then into October. Those amberjack are open through the end of October, so we're looking forward to some more amberjack trips. The 39-hour, the 12-hour extreme, those are the trips that you're going to catch those amberjack on, or a long-range private charter. Those are where we see those amberjack. But we're going to start it off here and keep you guys on your toes. We're going to give away a 5-hour half day. So let's see who wins a 5-hour half day for 2. Let's see who gets it, guys. All right, 5-hour half day for 2. Remember, if you get chosen as the lucky winner, you do have to message the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page. And that's Amanda Michelle Phillips, watching from Asheville, North Carolina. Again, if you are chosen as that lucky winner, like Amanda Michelle Phillips, you do have to message the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page within about 10-15 minutes. And the reason we do that, guys, is we want to keep it fair. For those of you watching live, you guys have the chance to win. If you're not watching live, you don't have that opportunity to win. So make sure you stay tuned, because we still got a 10-hour all day to give away. And if we get up to 300 live viewers, we're going to give away a free 39-hour trip as well. So make sure you stay tuned. We still got some more stuff to talk about here, some more questions to get to. And we're going to give away some more free trips. So let's get into some of these questions that we saw during the beginning of the show. One question, when we were talking about that snook, some people were asking about the snook, where can you target them? At night, when our office is closed and our dock is locked up, it is no trespassing. We had some issues over the course of the last couple years with some theft and vandalism on the dock, unfortunately, so we had to start locking up our dock. So at night, when the office is closed and that gate is closed at the entrance to the dock, it's no trespassing. You can't get on the dock. But if you show up early in the morning, a lot of times I'm there 5:15, 5:30, and I unlock the dock when I get there first thing. And a lot of times, the last couple of weeks, we've had kids waiting there for me to unlock the gate to get out there and snook fish. But you can just target them from the beach behind the marina. As long as you're catching that tail end of the outgoing tide, that beach is plenty big enough for you to get out there and skip your live shrimp up underneath the dock. And that outgoing tide, if you skip that shrimp underneath the dock, that outgoing tide will then push that shrimp right back to you. And a lot of times you'll hook that snook as that shrimp is moving underneath the dock. So you can target those snook from the beach and then all the way up and down the boardwalk. You can fish from the boardwalk at night. After 10 p.m., you're allowed to fish from the boardwalk, and a lot of guys catch plenty of snook up there on the boardwalk too. But it is a little tricky around the docks and pilings to land those fish. I like 60-pound test leader because it makes it a little easier to get those snook around the pilings without getting broke off. About a 3/0 circle hook seems to work really, really well. You can use a little pinfish or a big pinfish, tail hooked. You can use a live shrimp. Even those past crabs work really well too. A DOA shrimp is a great artificial lure choice, or one of those hard baits like the Rapala X-Wraps or a Bomber Wind Cheater. And then also the Flare Hawk jigs, like the First Lights Flare Hawk jigs, 1/2 ounce, 1 ounce jigs, great options too. So any of those artificial or live baits are great options for those snook. And this week we have some full moon action coming up, so it should definitely make the nighttime bite really, really good. But you have to watch those tides, because that current's going to be ripping. So you want to mine that tide. Definitely catch the very tail end or the beginning of that outgoing tide. That's when they seem to get fired up, as all that live bait gets pushed out of the Bogasiega Bay and gets flushed out of the pass. Those snook tend to feed really, really well. You can catch them on the incoming tide as well, but typically on the incoming tide, they're feeding out on the jetty more prolifically and more commonly. So if it was an incoming tide, I would be fishing around the tip of the jetty, fishing that little eddy as that water rushes down the beach from the north and curls around the tip of the jetty. I'd be casting through that eddy and working one of those Flare Hawk jigs, like a 1/2 ounce Flare Hawk if it's at the beginning or end of the incoming, and then like a 1 ounce Flare Hawk if you're working that heavy moving current. that incoming tide. Now, let's see here. What other questions did we see? Another question I saw was about our shark trips. How are the shark and Goliath grouper trips been going? We haven't been running a bunch of them because the weather's been really tough lately. We've been seeing a lot of rain and some higher winds and seas when we're running those shark trips on Friday nights. So those summertime storms have definitely been putting a damper on them, but we've been seeing a lot of Goliath grouper and shark action. You can definitely book a shark or Goliath grouper private charter. It's only about $720 for a 5-hour private charter on the hub for 1 to 6 people, or you could take out more than 6 people for just $1026, and that is a private charter. Or you could book a spot on the shark fishing trip, which also targets Goliath grouper. Those are Friday nights, and it's $150 a person. So those are your options for those sharks and Goliath groupers. Now, another question I saw was about amberjack fishing. What's the largest bait you would use for amberjack? Well, you want to make sure you have a large tackle as well, because those amberjack take some big tackle to land. So I like using a 9/0 reel, about 100-pound main line, or even 80-pound main line. You can pull it off. And then you want to use a big lead, especially if you're using a big bait, like a 10-12 ounce lead. Then a big heavy duty swivel and about a 6 to 8 foot leader, especially if you're using a big live bait. I use a longer leader, and the idea is you want to get that big live bait plenty of room to swim around and look natural, and also you want to give them plenty of distance from that big old heavy lead. So using that longer leader works really well to get those amberjack feeding when you're using a big live bait with that heavy tackle. Now, you want to use about a 10-12-aught hook, big heavy hook for those amberjack. And as far as the largest bait, you'd be surprised how big of a bait those big, huge amberjack can swallow. Catching one of those 9,600-pound jacks, you can easily use like a 2 or 3 pound bait, like a monster, the biggest blue runner you can find. He'll swallow that up. That amberjack that John Martin caught in the video, he caught that on a big old lizard fish. That other huge amberjack was caught on a big slab of bonita, or a strip of bonita, excuse me. So you'd be surprised how big of a bait. Also, vertical jigging works well for those amberjack. If you don't have the big live bait, most of the time, most people don't have that big live bait. Most of the time what we do is you can't find 2 and 3 pound baits to bring offshore to hunt for amberjack. So what we do most of the time on these 39-hour trips is through the nighttime period, because on a 39-hour you leave at 3 p.m., you start fishing around midnight, 1, 2 a.m. in the morning, and you fish through the nighttime period for mangrove snapper. And at night, if you happen to catch a porgy or a lizard fish, or if you catch some blue runners, you can use those for bait for those amberjack during the day. You have to make sure you vent them, and you can toss them in a live well, and they work really well for those amberjack. But you have to make sure you vent it, and it has to be one of those legal baits. A spade fish is also a great bait. That's one of the ones I forgot. One of the guys, John Brooks, reminded me in the comments here. So a spade fish is definitely amberjack candy. A spade fish is looks like a it looks like a sheep's head, but it's shaped like an angelfish, and you can catch those around the bridges and piers and passes around the structure on a little piece of shrimp. They are killer amberjack bait for sure. So spadefish is an awesome choice as well. But the trick with those amberjack is big bait, big tackle, and big strength, and some patience too. I like, when I'm using a live bait for jacks, what I'll do is I'll drop it down to where I can't see that bait anymore. That bait disappears. I know I'm about halfway or a little bit more than halfway down at that point. Then I'll put my thumb on the spool and I'll start dropping it down really slowly. And when I feel those that big huge live bait start getting really really agitated and really really excited, that's when I know he's getting close to those big jacks and those jacks are making him nervous. That's when I'll just stop and totally put my thumb on the spool and slow him down or stop him completely. And that's when a lot of times you're going to get that big huge amberjack to bite. But keep in mind, if you're using that big old live bait, you got to let him eat. You got to let him eat. So when he starts taking some line, you got to let him take line and let him get that big bait down his throat, especially if you're doing the method I just talked about and you're not on the bottom, fishing right on the bottom, you're only halfway down or whatever. You can let him run a little bit before you put the reel into gear and start putting some pressure on that fish. So definitely let him eat and let him get some distance on that bait down his throat before you put the reel in gear and start fighting him. Also, you want to make sure you have your drag set right. You don't want to have that drag all the way locked down. If that drag is all the way locked down, you will typically lose those amberjack because they're able to pull the hook right out of their mouth, or you'll get a line break, or your hook will straighten out or break on you. So you don't want to have that drag all the way locked down. You want to have it pretty full, but not all the way locked down. So definitely make sure you're at like 75-80% drag, and that works really well for those amberjack. Another question I saw was the favorite method for blackfin tuna. We had Will on the show a couple episodes. I think that was maybe last week. They're all kind of running together on me. But Will McClure, the first mate from our 39-hour trip, he said his favorite method for blackfin tuna is a light knocker rig with a tail-hooked pinfish, about 50-pound fluorocarbon and about a 5/0 circle hook and a super light knocker rig. Once we've been fishing a spot for a while, you can drop that out there and get those blackfin tuna to hit it on the way to bottom. Also, you can catch them just on a flat line with a dead thread fin. That's what I like doing a lot of times, is just having that flat line out there with a thread fin. Just that same thing, 50-pound fluorocarbon, about 3 to 5/0 circle hook with that thread fin hooked on the side of the nose and out the other side of the nose. And you can just let that drift out there in the current. And a lot of times you'll pick up one of those blackfin tuna. Typically with that, I would have a piece of wire on there, some really light wire, like number 3 wire, number 4 wire, and a stinger rig, because sometimes the kingfish or maybe even a wahoo might pick it up too. As long as it's light wire, a tuna will grab it as well if he's hungry enough. But if you're specifically targeting blackfin tuna, you would stay away from the wire, because you don't need wire for blackfin, and they're a very smart leader-shy fish. So definitely, if you're specifically targeting them, don't go with the wire. But if you go out and set out that flat line and all of a sudden you come back and it's been bitten clean off, you know a kingfish or wahoo or something toothy got you, that's when you would want to switch to wire, even if you are still targeting those tuna, because you don't want to keep losing your rig, you know. But as far as my favorite method, I would definitely say flatlining, because I don't like knocker rigging that much, because I'm focused on bottom fishing. I don't want to stop mangrove snapper fishing myself. So most of the time I flatline for them. That way I can set my flatline out and continue bottom fishing. This time of year we have such light loads on those 39-hour trips. I mean, we've got August 20th, I think we've got like 15 people on the boat. So we have 2 Tuesday trips in the month of August. We've got a couple Tuesday trips in the month of October, November, and December. Those Tuesday trips have super light loads on them. And even the Friday trips only have 20, 25, 30 people on them. So much different from our red snapper season in June and July, where we had 40, 45, 50 people on the trips. Keep in mind the boat's licensed for 120 people, and there's 78 rod holders. We only allow up to 50. So these trips where we have 15, 20 people on the boat, there's tons of room around the boat. Another question I saw was what depth do you see those hogfish at, and what type of bottom? We typically see those hogfish around anywhere from about 30, 35 foot of water all the way out to about 70 foot of water. That's where we consistently catch and target those hogfish. Now, you can catch hogfish as deep as 140, 150 foot of water. Some of the biggest hogfish we've ever caught have been out there in a deeper water, like 120, 130 foot of water on those small pinfish. But to catch hogfish consistently and to go out and run a trip to target hogfish, I would definitely be fishing anywhere from about 30 to about 70 foot of water. Now, the deeper you go, typically a little bit bigger hogfish you'll run into. Around 40 to 50 foot's a good place to start. Some people like fishing a little deeper, 60, 70 foot, but that's a good range for sure for those hogfish. As far as the bottom, hogfish like flat, hard bottom with the sea fans or those little tiny ledges that don't hold a lot of other predator species. Those hogfish like to scavenge areas. So if you're just fishing a little ledge with a bunch of sand around it, it's not going to hold a bunch of hogfish. But if you're fishing this huge, expansive piece of flat, hard bottom with some sea fans on it, that's that Swiss cheese bottom, that hard bottom with the cracks and crevices, that's going to hold your hogfish. And the reason why is they have a lot of area to expansively scavenge and forage for those crustaceans. Hogfish is a wrasse. It's not actually a snapper. A lot of people call them hognose snapper, but in reality it's in the wrasse family, not the snapper family. So they actually cruise a little bit above the bottom, and they cruise and scavenge and forage for those crustaceans, whether it be shrimp, crabs, or even small bait fish. So they definitely like that hard shell bottom, either hard rock bottom or that hard shell bottom, and they love to hide next to or around those sea fans. So that's the bottom that you're going to find them on. When you get to those big 3-4 foot ledges, there's just so many other fish around. They typically, even if there's hogfish there, you can't really catch them on hook and line. You might be able to jump in the water and spear one, but as far as hook and line targeting hogfish, smaller is better for sure, because there's less other predatory fish to bite that live shrimp that you're dropping down. Lighter tackle is better for those hogs. About 30-pound fluorocarbon, about 4/0 hook. I typically use like a 4,000 or 5,000 series spinning reel, about 15-20 pound braid, a really, really light but super strong, sensitive rod, like our custom Hubbard's Marina Bull Bay rods that we designed specifically for hogfish. We got them in our shop for 150, 170 bucks. Those Hubbard's Marina Bull Bay rods, great option. The Daiwa Saltis 4000 series or the Daiwa Saltiga 4000 series reel. And then about 15 to 20 pound braid, and then about a 15-foot piece of 30-pound fluorocarbon is what I would use to target those hogfish. And then as far as what you use for your hook, either a knocker rig, naked ball jig, or just a jig head. Typically you're shooting for that 4/0 hook size, so like a 1 ounce or a 1 ounce naked ball jig or a 1/2 ounce naked ball jig is a good option, or that 4/0 hook with like a 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, or 1 ounce egg sinker. For the knocker rig, as far as what size weight to use on a knocker rig for hogfish, lighter is better. The lighter you go, the slower that bait descends to bottom and the more natural it appears. So you definitely want to go lighter is better for those hogfish knocker rigs. All right, so we got some other questions to get into here first. We got some other questions to answer here, guys. But we're going to give away another free trip to keep you guys on your toes. So let's give away a 10-hour all day for 2 guests. Keep in mind, guys, we still have that 39-hour trip to give away too. So stay tuned. Don't dip out of here just because we gave away the 10-hour, because there's still more to come. So let's see who won a 10-hour trip for 2. Let's see here. 10-hour all day for 2. Tim Roche from Crystal River. Forgot to make an extra picture. I like your style, Mr. Roche. Now, keep in mind, guys, if you are picked as that lucky winner, you do have to message the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page for me and give me your full name and home address so I can send you out those gift certificates for your free trips that you won. We're going to give away that 39-hour trip at half price, but we're getting dangerously close to 300 live viewers. We're at 280 right now. So we just need 20 more people to tune in, and we're going to give away a free 39-hour trip. Keep in mind, there's also YouTube viewers. So if you're sitting there at Facebook looking up and seeing 239 live viewers saying, he's crazy, I'm not just a fisherman over embellishing. There's people watching on YouTube as well. So let's see here. What other questions do we have here? Another cool question I saw was, what is the best technique to use if your anchor gets stuck and you can't get it free? Well, the best method to use is coming up on your anchor line. Typically, what happens is you're anchoring on a spot, and let's say you're trying to anchor on this spot here, and then you drop back to your, you let out line and you drop back on your anchor heading. Well, a lot of times when you start pulling up that anchor, you start moving the boat to where you dropped that anchor originally. If you're not able to get that anchor up off the bottom, you want to get it as vertical as possible by pulling in the line and trying to get that anchor line straight up and down. Once it's straight up and down, you cleat it off to the bow of the boat, and what you would do then is just float there. A lot of times the wave action, if it's 1-2 foot seas, the wave action will pull that anchor out of bottom. If that doesn't work, you can motor forward a little bit and see if that'll help get the line tight enough to pull that anchor out of bottom. It matters what type of anchor you're using. We use those Danforth style anchors with the 2 forks or the 2 prongs, or I'm calling it the wrong term because I can't think of it right now, but strakes, anchor strakes, that's what they're called. That works really well. If you go forward, it tends to back that Danforth anchor out. But sometimes if you get lucky enough, you can't get that anchor out of the bottom, and sometimes you just have to tie a buoy ball to it, to the anchor line, and cut it and come back with your scuba gear or your free diving buddy and go down and get it. But you should try to be mindful of where you drop your anchor, especially around our Tampa Bay area. We have these limestone areas with very light amounts of coral and sea fans and live bottom that holds a lot of our fish in our estuaries. So you want to be careful about where you drop your anchor, and if at all possible, try to make sure that you drop your anchor in the sand. It's going to hold the anchor just fine as long as you put out enough scope, and you're going to ensure that your anchor never gets stuck. So a lot of times what I'll do is if I know my anchor headings out of the north, I'll find a ledge or a piece of bottom that runs east and west. So that way when I drop back on my anchor heading, the boat's swinging east and west right across that ledge or right across that piece of hard bottom, and I know when I drop my anchor I'm going to be off the piece of hard bottom in the sand. Now if you don't have that ability, you can kind of maneuver around and see how the spot lays and find a place with some softer bottom to drop your anchor, but it's not always possible, especially if you don't have as many fishing spots or as much flexibility to do so. Sometimes you do have to drop your anchor in that hard bottom, and that's the risk you run dropping your anchor in the hard bottom, is sometimes you might lose it if it gets stuck real good. But you can always jump in the water and go get it. It just takes a little bit of effort. Let's see here. Another question I saw was, I'm going out on the 10-hour trip Tuesday and I have spot 8 in the back of the boat. What should I use to troll to get hooked up? Well, first of all, you do not have to have a stern spot to troll. That's a common misconception on all of our trips. People think that they have to have a stern spot to troll. The spots that you book for our fishing trips are bottom fishing spots. All our fishing trips are bottom fishing trips. So you have no better right to troll when you book a stern spot than if you booked a spot in the bow. Everybody has a chance to troll. So those spots that you book are simply for bottom fishing and bottom fishing alone. So on the ride out and the ride back, anybody can troll. Typically, we have plenty of room for anybody who wants to troll to troll. Now, if we have a bunch of people on one trip that want to troll, we will go in rotation if we have to. But generally, that does not occur. Like 1 in 10 times, 1 in 15 times that will occur. Most of the time, we've got plenty of room for everybody. But as far as trolling goes, the trips you can troll on all the time are the 5-hour half day, the 39-hour, the 44-hour, and the 63 hours when we offer them. Our 10-hour trips, our 12-hour trips, you can't always troll on those trips. Sometimes the boat's just moving a little too fast to troll. And on the 12 hours, it's always moving too fast to troll, especially, obviously, the 12-hour extreme. With a 12-hour night snapper trip, also, we're moving too fast to troll. 10-hour trips, most of the time, 7 out of 10 times, the boat's going too fast to troll. So it's not really a good option. Because, again, these are bottom fishing trips. So even if you're on a 5-hour or 39-hour trip where you know you can troll, they're bottom fishing trips. So if you hook a little kingfish or a mackerel or a bonita, you have to have a big enough reel to retrieve that fish while the boat's moving, because we're not going to slow down every time you hook a little mackerel or a kingfish. Now, if you hook a big old wahoo or a billfish that's dumping line, we'll slow down for that. But generally, the boat's going to keep moving, so you have to have a really big reel. Like on a half day, you can get away with using a 9-knot reel to troll. But most of the time, if you want to troll, especially on a 39 or 44-hour trip, you have to have one of those fancier 2-speed, really big reels, 50 wide, 80 wide trolling reel. We do have some in the shop if you want to pick one up for your future trip. But it definitely helps to have one of those bigger reels, because then you're guaranteed to be able to retrieve that fish while the boat's moving, and we don't have to slow down for you to reel in your smaller trolling fish. But as far as near shore trolling, that first 25 to 35 miles from shore, generally the best option to use is a trolling spoon with a planer. We've got them right in the shop. We can show you what to use when you check out, and they work really well for kingfish, mackerel, bonita, and pretty much any fish that you'd run into near shore. Right now, we're not catching a ton of fish on the troll close to shore. We're mainly catching mackerel and bonita. Now, in a few weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, depending on weather, that will change, and we'll start seeing those kingfish, which we're very excited and looking forward to. But for now, mainly the mackerel, and the mackerel just started to show back up for us near shore. So we're not catching a ton of them, but we're seeing a few here and there. Let's see here. What other questions? Booked for November. The panfish have been small. Will croakers, say about 10 inches, work for grouper? That is a big grouper bait. If you're now, the question just said booked for November, so I don't know what trip they're talking about specifically. But if you're booked on a 39-hour or 44-hour trip or a 12-hour extreme trip, a 10-inch bait is plenty for grouper, and gag grouper love a big live bait, and that's not too big for sure. I mean, I've dropped 12, 14, 16-inch baits down there for gag grouper, and they'll eat them. A nice big old 20, 30, 40-pound gag will take every bit of a 10, 12, 14-inch bait all day long and won't think twice about it. But you got to make sure you have big rod and reel, big tackle. Don't drop a 10-inch live bait down unless you got a 100, 125-pound leader, a big 10, 12-aught hook, and at least 40, 45, 50 pounds of drag and some big old shoulders to put behind it, because it's gonna be a big fish that takes that big old live bait. Another question I saw was, how is the gag bite going right now? The gags have been a little hit and miss. We're seeing those gags out deeper, about 180, 200, 250 foot of water. So the only trips we're seeing a lot of gag grouper action on are those long range private charter fishing trips, or like our 39-hour trips or 12-hour extreme trips. Those are where we're seeing the gags. We're not seeing the gags near shore. Really, there's a couple gags being caught around the Skyway piers and a few inshore, but those are smaller near shore or smaller inshore gags, like 20, 24, 26, maybe 28 inches. The gags we're catching and we're seeing a pretty good number of out there in 180, 200 foot are 15, 20-pound fish. Now, we haven't been seeing a ton of them because it's still really hot water. We're still in the summer. Gags do not bite well in this warmer water and warmer climate. They bite best in those cooler months. This time of year, you can find a good bite of gags, but you got to be super deep water and you got to be patient. And definitely we're seeing a good push of gags out there in that deeper water, closer to 200 foot on our 39 hours and 12-hour extreme trips. But one trip will do really, really well on the gags. The next trip will do okay. And then we'll have some trips where we really struggle to catch the gags. So they are a little hit and miss. And as the water gets cooler, as we get closer to October, November, December, the gag bite will just get better and better and better. Last year, the end of December gag grouper bite was just out of this world. And into November, we started doing really good. Remember, Thanksgiving to the end of the year is prime time for those gags. But even the beginning of October, we start to see that gag bite get better. And in October, we've got gags and amberjack and tons of 39-hour and 12-hour trips to book. But remember to book early and often, because last year those 39-hour trips in November and December started filling up, and some people missed out because those trips did fill up. So make sure you book early and often on those 12-hour extremes and 39 hours, because once we start killing those gags and talking about them and stuff and showing photos, it'll definitely fill up. Now, another question I saw was, can we bring our own live bait to throw on the 39-hour trip? And the answer to that question is yes, you can bring your own live bait on our 39-hour trips. You can't bring your own live well because on a 39 and 44-hour trip, you already have your own live well built into the seat behind you. So you don't need your own live well, but you can bring your own live bait down to the boat and put it on the boat. So yes, you're always welcome to bring your own live bait, your own dead bait, your own rods, reels, tackle, or you could buy them from us. We do offer live bait there at the dock for you if you want to purchase them from us, or you can bring your own. Doesn't hurt our feelings at all. Another question I saw was, how about mullet? I assume you're talking about mullet for live bait. Mullet work really well for cut bait for gag grouper. They work really well for live bait for gag grouper, and also live bait from amberjack. It's a little unique. It's not one of those natural fish that they run into out there, but they definitely work. I've seen people catch some big amberjack and some big grouper on those live mullets. So definitely a great option for live bait. Another question I saw was about what pound test should we use on a 39-hour trip? And for that question, I'm going to direct you guys here to our website. You can go to hubbardsmarina.com, and our website has so much information on it. I really try to over-information our website so you guys have lots of tools and resources. You've got the fishing tips and tricks page. You've got the, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this better. So under the fishing trips tab, you've got the fishing trip reservations, you've got private charter information, all the different party boat fishing trip options. Then we've got our specialty trip schedule to show you all the 39 and 44-hour trips in 12-hour trips. Then we've got our fishing tips and tricks page with all those little videos, how to tie double snell rigs, how to rig, how to brine, all that cool information. We've got all our latest Bass Pro Shop seminars uploaded here if you like hearing more about nearshore and offshore fishing, go check out some of the videos we've got on this page. Hour-long seminars that we do at Bass Pro every month with more fishing information. And then all these live shows that we do every Sunday night, we also put on the website there, so you can go watch, I don't know, 25, 30 of these live shows. So tons of videos. We've got our events page, which I definitely want to show you. We've got our weather links page with all the different weather tools, so you know what the weather's going to do for your trip. We've got the fishing rules and regulations, so you know what's in season when, and you're able to keep up with it if it changes. You've got our fishing report information. We send those fishing reports out every Friday. If you don't like getting our emails every Friday, you can always just check here every Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, and that fishing report page is updated. So lots of options there on the website. But to answer your question about what tackle for the 39-hour, you would just click fishing trips and click that 39-hour page, and there's a huge section about what to bring, what bait, recommended tackle. Look at all that recommended tackle information. So lots of good information there on the website for you. So make sure to check that out. Also, while we're on the website, under fishing trips, you can find that events page. Our events page have all the upcoming events, including our Bass Pro fishing seminars. Our last one was August 10th, so you just missed it. But we'll have another one in October. I'm going to take September off from going to Bass Pro Shops because of the baby. That's going to be popping out any day now. Don't tell my wife I referred to that. Then we have our live fishing show that you're watching right now that we do every Sunday night. You can click on these links, and they're going to take you to the page where it talks all about the Q&A and live show, and you can go to the Facebook event. So you can share that with your friends, which, hint, hint, I want your help to do. But also, don't forget about our Barracuda Tackle Net Fish and Chill event. All you have to do is click on that little photo, and it'll take you to that event page. The Net Fish and Chill event is going to be a lot of fun. It's August 21st. It's at 6 p.m. It's at the Barracuda Tackle Warehouse. If you're not familiar with Barracuda Tackle, they make cast nets. But they make a whole bunch more than cast nets, too. And we're coming soon. You're going to see a Hubbard's Marina collaboration with Barracuda Tackle. They're going to come out with some hardware that you're going to want, some hardware that our crew and captains don't go on a boat without, and you can't buy anywhere else because the company that made them literally went out of business, and Barracuda Tackle is brainstorming those. So that's going to be huge, but that's a whole nother story. That's down the road here in another couple months. But this Net Fish and Chill event, August 21st, I'm going to be hanging out, and we're going to give away a free fishing trip every 30 minutes. Plus, there's free booze and free food. So definitely join us for that event. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we got through most of the questions. I'm going to scan here. I got through most of the questions that I could get to, is what I mean. I can't answer all the questions you guys ask because you continue to ask great questions the whole show, and I sometimes miss some of the questions, especially towards the second half of the show when I'm answering your questions and you guys are asking more. I don't always catch the newest one. So if I didn't answer your question live, don't worry. I will go back through and try to answer them via comments over the next couple days. Or you can always message our page or email me. My email is just CAPT, so Captain abbreviated, my last name Hubbard, at hubbardsmarina.com. One question here that I missed is, how is the captain determined to run each 39-hour trip? Generally, either Garrett or Brian are running our 39-hour trips. and typically they switch on and off, but it's totally dependent on their schedules. Garrett's got 2 boys and a wife. Brian's got some stuff going on, so they kind of switch back and forth. There's no real rhyme or reason. They just kind of set it up, and you can always call ahead and find out who's running which. But we definitely don't have that scheduled out for the year because we have so many different boats and so many different trips. We definitely have to move people around based on requests. If someone books a private charter and requests one of our captains, we do the best we can to try to accommodate that private charter client. So sometimes that'll kind of throw off the 39-hour schedule too. But you never know, to answer your question. Another question I saw was, have any IGFA record fish been caught on the Hubbard's boats? And I could say that a lot of them were originally set on the boats, especially like amberjack, black grouper, mangrove snapper is one of them. I know we have definitely a world record mutton at one point, but these are back in the 70s and 80s. Keep in mind, guys, we were the first to ever offer long-range overnight fishing trips. We were the first to ever offer half-day fishing trips on the entire coast of Florida. We were the first to ever fish the Florida Middle Grounds with a party boat. So we've been doing this over 90 years and 4 generations. So we have had a ton of records over the years. Now, granted, we don't always keep them. And now everybody and their brother is out there on these little go fast 40-foot quadruple engine boats. So it's much more contentious nowadays, and the fisheries changed a lot. Now, back in the 60s and 70s, not a lot of people were out there. When we started running those middle grounds trips in 1967 on a party boat that went 21 knots or about 25-30 miles an hour, no one was doing that back then, and we caught some out of this world fish. So pretty cool. But to answer your question, yes, we have. Another question I saw was, is the half-day trip or 10-hour trip better? Well, it's kind of hard to say one is better than the other because it all depends on what you're looking for. A half-day trip is better if you've got little kids with you or first-time anglers with you. It's a great beginner angler trip. A 5-hour half-day is for beginners, novices, and advanced anglers who are bringing novices with them. Or if you just don't have a lot of time and you want to get out in the water and drink a few beers and wet a line and catch some good eating fish, our 5-hour trip catches those, what we call a gray snapper. It's known as a white grunt or Key West grunt. And we catch some porgies, and you have a shot at catching some hogfish, especially in the cooler months. But if you want to get out there and get a chance at some grouper, the 10-hour trip is our shortest trip, closest to shore, that offers a chance for those grouper. This time of year we have a chance at those red grouper. You get a lot better chance at the hogfish on the 10-hour trip because you got more fishing time, and we generally anchor fish more on a 10-hour compared to drifting mainly on a 5-hour. But again, on the 10-hour trip, you're still mostly catching what we call a gray snapper, also known as a white grunt or Key West grunt, because you're just not that deep of water. If you want a specialty trip, if you're an advanced angler, you do not want to do a 5-hour or 10-hour trip. You want to do a 12-hour night mangrove snapper trip, a 12-hour extreme trip, a 39-hour trip, and that's the brutal, honest truth there, guys, and that's kind of the breakdown. That's why we have 12 and 39-hour trips, and that's why we call them advanced angler specialty trips. We're trying to make it clear to people that if you're an advanced angler, you don't want to do our 5-hour trip or a 10-hour trip. And all the time I have guys going out there on a half-day trip, and they're like, what do you mean we're only going to catch grunts? I want to catch grouper or amberjack. Well, man, you got to do longer than a 5-hour trip. You got to get further than 10 miles out. That 5-hour trip's only 9 to 12 miles out, 30 to 50 foot of water. You just don't get deep enough to get a chance for some of those bigger fish. But it's still a great time. I love the 5-hour trip. It's great fun. Bring my little cousins out there, my wife out there, or family, and get some time on the water and catch some really good eating fish. In my opinion, those gray snapper or white grunts are some of the best eating fish we catch, especially when you take them next door to the restaurant get them fried up fresh after your trip. There is absolutely nothing better. Trust me, I eat it a lot. All right, guys. So I am very tired, and we're going to cut this one off right at 1 hour tonight. I'm actually a little bit after 1 hour already. So this one's going to be a little shorter than normal, and we're going to stop this show a little sooner. Now, we still have a 39-hour trip to give away. We got up to about 200, and right now we're at 291 live viewers, so we're close enough. We're going to give away a 39-hour trip. But before we do that, don't forget about our August 21st Net Fish and Chill event we just talked about. Don't forget about next week's live show. We do these live shows every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m., so hopefully we'll see you next week. Also, don't forget that baby is on the way. My wife is pregnant, and that baby is coming anytime. Baby Jack Wilson Hubbard. So if that occurs, our live show schedule will get thrown off. Just going to make sure you're aware of that, because sometimes when I cancel those shows, people get a little disappointed, and understand I'm disappointed when I have to cancel the shows. But when the baby comes, I'm going to have to cancel a live show or two. So stay tuned for that information and announcement. But for now, live show next week. We'll see you there. Then I wanted to mention those deals. I talked about the fishing reports. I showed you on our website. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com, go to our homepage. On the bottom right-hand side of our website, you have that newsletter sign-up option. You can sign up for our newsletter right there. Enter your email, press send, and that's going to get you signed up for that newsletter. We send it out every Friday. It's got a fishing report, really detailed fishing report, some photos, what's coming up, upcoming events, all that information. So definitely sign up for that, or just go to Fishing Trips and go down to Hubbard's Marina Fishing Reports, and you can tune in to our fishing reports here, and you can see the latest fishing report. Scroll down through it, and don't forget to check out the coupons, because every week we have a different coupon on here. Let's see. This week's coupon is right there. There it is. So coupon information. Right now we're running 50% off our dolphin watching trips and 50% off our Shell Key Ferry. Now, I know this is a fishing live show, guys, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. But if you got someone special that you want to go out to the island and go shelling, or get on a dolphin cruise trip with us, it's an hour and a half, a dolphin watching cruise. There's beer available on the boat and wine too. It's a really fun, relaxing cruise, and it's only half price. So it's $10 to get out to Shell Island for the day. It's $12.25 to get on a dolphin cruise. So really cool little half off deals that you can get there on our email coupon. But the reason I'm telling you guys about this is very soon we're going to slow down to a point where we're going to be giving away fishing deals in that coupon. So make sure you sign up for the newsletter. Make sure you check the coupon every week. Okay, guys? That is the reason why I was talking about dolphin watching and shelling. Okay? We do that as well. A lot of people don't realize that, and I forget to talk about it a lot. We do have other trips besides fishing. But let's see who won a 39-hour fishing trip. And I'll see you next week for another live show. And next week, I'm going to drag Smokey back in here by his neck. He asked for Sundays off, and I got him Sundays off. He was supposed to be doing these shows, and today he dodged my phone call. So next week, Smokey, if you're listening, you better be here. Let's see who won a 39-hour trip, guys. Let's see. Free 39-hour trip for one person. Mike Harlow for sharing the video. Congrats, Mike Harlow. Remember, guys, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Remember, if you're one of those lucky winners, you do have to message the page within 10 minutes. You got to message the Hubbard's Marina page. Remember, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too busy. I'll see you next week for another live stream show. Remember, we do those live shows, or short live fishing reports almost every morning. Tune into our Facebook page. Make sure you like our page, subscribe to us on YouTube, and don't forget our Fox 13 Friday morning segments, 8:15 a.m. on Fox 13 News every Friday morning for the Good Catch segment with Russell Rhodes and myself. Have a great day. We'll see you soon at Hubbard's Marina, guys. Thanks for watching.